All right, so we're going to get started here. It's a little after 7 o'clock. We're here with Captain Frank Crescitelli of Fin Chaser Charters and the TV show The Fin Chasers. Here he is, Captain Frank. We're also here with John Vaughn from Tackle Direct. This is going to be sponsored by Navionics in association with Tackle Direct, which is in Egg Harbor, New Jersey, and also Cortland Lines. And tonight we're going to be doing a demo on Hollow Core Demystified. So Frank is going to start off talking about why it's necessary to understand how to do this connection, what it's useful for. And throughout the presentation, if you have any questions, I'll try to stop and look in the question and answering section and see if we can answer your questions. If you don't have that opportunity or we can't answer it tonight, please email me at agrassi@navionics.com and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Also tonight, we're gonna pick a couple lucky winners. Frank will discuss some Cortland products that we're gonna do a giveaway for from Cortland and Tackle Direct. All right, so why don't we get started here? We're also another fin chaser that's going to be working on some of these connections with you is another team member back behind me, Dave Rooney. And Dave Rooney has years of experience doing these connections and have caught very large fish. Some of the questions that I've gotten over the past few days from some of the viewers is, you know, I'm nervous, will they hold? And when we started doing this years ago, a funny story is one way we tested these knots and you know, these connections was Frank would do a connection, we would tie it on a leader, and we'd also tie it to one of our bicycles. And he would have me go down the street as fast as I can, lock it up, and if the connection held, we knew we got a good one. So that's our testing method. So, you know, after that, we were very confident on our time, and Frank's going to give you a demo on how we do it. All right, here you go, Frank.
All right, welcome everybody. One thing that we'll talk about right off the start here is why would you even want to splice hollow core? Some of these things that come out technology-wise, people feel are, you know, maybe over their head or it's the latest gimmick. I can tell you that from fishing out of a center console, big game fishing specifically, there's a lot of challenges. And one of the challenges is that the gear, the traditional gear for big game fishing is big reels. And most of the time you're fighting your own tackle before you're even fighting the fish. So these big 80 wides and 50 wides that were traditionally used for shark fishing and for tuna fishing, in a center console, the room is a problem and you don't have a chair, so you can't sit in a chair, you're holding this stuff, you're strapped into a belt. The tackle is traditionally geared for these big fish, but the technology changes today enable an angler to use much smaller gear for those same big fish. As an example, this is a new Daiwa Dogfight 60, okay? Saltiga 60. Super high retrieve ratio, super high drag capacity. This reel has enough drag to stop any fish. If you use hollow core and use a monofilament top shot, you'll have enough line capacity to stop any fish. So why not use a reel this size to big game fish rather than the big traditional 80, 50 wides that weigh 10 times what this reel weighs? So we are standing up when we're fighting fish. We want to use light a tackle as possible, but it has to be matched to the fish. So this is where hollow core gives you the advantage. Essentially what you're doing is taking your monofilament, which we call a top shot, and inserting it inside of this hollow core line. And in the very early stages of this, it was very difficult because the product was not refined enough to make it easy. This Cortland C16 hollow core braid is super, super soft. It's actually like silk. The needle goes right inside of it. The monofilament goes inside of it, and then the splicing gets done. Why are you splicing to begin with? Maximum line capacity on the smallest reel possible that has drag enough to stop those big fish. So we can know that the reel has enough drag. We know we have enough line. The only thing that's left to do is to match everything else up so that we're able to fight these fish on this small tackle. It's not only for big game fishing though. The advantage of splicing removes knots from your setups. So if you have braid on your spinning reel, we tuna fish with big Saltiga dogfight spinning reels. They hold a ton of line. We use a hollow core splice connection, and we can reel that connection through the guides and cast hundreds of times without worrying about that knot becoming degraded from running through the guides. We're also not worried about damaging the guides on the rod. So these are all extreme advantages. A lot of this stuff, if you've never seen it before, will make a lot more sense when we show you, in fact, how it looks. So there's a lot of different ways to do this. And some of them are actually works of art. But that all takes time. Anything we do on the fin chasers, it has to be quick, it has to be effective, and it has to be something that we can do on the fly. By just bringing a tube of glue and a bobbin, we can do this right on the boat. We need a needle as well. We have the needle that matches the monofilament size that we're going to be splicing most of the time, and you take that with us, and that's all you need. 3 items, and you're ready to go. You can also do it by hand using floss, a lot of different methods. This is the most effective as far as time is concerned. The most time effective. I have had 0, not 1 ever failure using this simple splicing method. It is not the most beautiful, and there'll be plenty of people that say, oh, mine look a lot better, and I'm sure they do. But these work, and they're done quickly, relatively quickly. It's not something that can be done in 30 seconds, but you're talking about something that you have to do, you know, a couple of times a year. We do it before every tournament. But the layup is this. Anytime you put braid on a reel, we put monofilament down first, just as a bed, because the braid is very soft, very slippery rather, and if you don't put it on tight and you don't have some sort of cushion, some people put tape on the spool or whatever the case may be, you need some sort of cushion there so that that braid has something to bind into. So whether it's a spinning reel or a conventional reel, same setup. A little bit of monofilament, make a connection, doesn't have to be a splice connection, to your braid, whether it's hollow core or traditional braid. You run that on, and then whether you're using a top shot of monofilament or just a leader, you then put your last connection. And the last connection, the one that's going to be going in and out of the guides, is the one that we're most concerned about. And that's the one that we splice whenever we can. So we're going to show you how we do a splice. Dave Rooney is first mate on Fin Chaser. He's going to show you. We've been doing this for the last 2 days, getting everything ready for this weekend's shark tournament, which, by the way, is going to appear as an episode on this season of the Fin Chasers. So check it out. Destination America, July 1st, Saturday, 6 a.m., and every Saturday at 6 a.m. After that, for 13 weeks on Destination America, then we switch to Pursuit. So follow us on Facebook. Check us out. We're easy to find. FinChaser.com, FinChasersTV.com. You can see the schedule there. And we are very, very excited. We're only doing world records and tournament fishing. That's all the show's about. So you can be rest assured that anything we do gear-wise, it's not because we get the gear free or discount or anything else. It's the best stuff. You cannot take a chance on a world record or a high-stakes tournament with stuff that doesn't work. We're happy the guys here at Tackle Direct sell everything we use on the Fin Chasers, and that's why we're here tonight, partnering with Navionics to bring this to you, and it's going to reside here on the web whenever you have a chance to look at it, if you don't have time to stay on tonight. So let's get right down to it, and you all can send in questions as we go along. Right now, also, John Vaughn's doing a Facebook Live feed. You will have friends that are mobile right now, and they can't get onto the internet through, maybe they need a faster connection, but Facebook seems to work for everything as well. So Dave is going to come in. We're going to start off. We've already put a little bed of mono, and then our Cortland C16. This is 80-pound C16. This is hollow core line. It's 16 strands braided together, but if you look here closely, you'll see it here. This is, if I push it together, you'll see it kind of springs together a little bit. We call it shrimping up, and that means that you're opening up the middle of this line a little more. So as those little cracker box, Chinese finger handcuffs that you had as a kid, same process. This stuff bites to the monofilament because of the pressure. Once the monofilament's inserted, the pressure of this line squeezing back down there is what holds it together. By us serving the end is just completing that connection. The only way this splice can fail is if that little serving on the end fails, and you were able to relieve the pressure on the end and make a gap basically inside of this line. And you can see right there how that's kind of bunched up. So that's what the needle's doing. It's going inside and making a place for that monofilament to reside. Once it's pulled tight, it cannot come out unless you slide this end off. So we do a very simple method. It's very quick, very effective. So we're going to bring Dave in, and as he's doing it, I'm going to kind of walk you guys through it here. So
switch to this camera?
Yeah, we're going to switch over to this high-def camera, and it'll give us a closer view to our hands here. Just hang with us 1 second. John, you have the Davao Needle? The stock?
Okay.
I have them here. You have them in stock?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we're using a Davao Needle. This is made for splicing. They have them in stock here at Tackle Direct. And you can see maybe in here, if I get the light just right, that this is a hollow needle. Probably, I don't know if you can see that there. But the inside of this needle is hollow, and the monofilament is going to go inside. So Dave will show you right here. We're using 80-pound top shot. So we're putting 200 to 250 yards of C16 on these reels, and then we're putting 100 to 125 pounds of 80 or 60 mono, and that's our quote-unquote top shot. The advantage to that is not only line capacity, but every time that we fish a tournament or have caught a big fish and we're going for a world record, we will change out only the top shot. We don't have to change all of our line and throw away the line that never saw daylight. So that's the advantage. In the old days, you filled your reel all with monofilament, and most of the time, when you came to change that line, you threw away a line that never saw daylight, and you were wasting a tremendous amount of line. Good line is not cheap, and cheap line is not good. So why not only have the top 200 yards or 150 yards, whatever it is, of monofilament, the only stuff that's going to go in and out through the outriggers, in and out through the guides, and the only part that's going to be engaged to the fish for the most part, certainly anything that's going to come in contact with any abrasion at all, is that top shot. So by doing hollow core, this bed of line stays on here multi-seasons. You change out the top shot whenever you feel you need to, and you're only changing 100 to 200 or 250 yards of monofilament. It's cost effective in the long run. So Dave has got the 80-pound inside that needle.
I don't know if you guys saw it. As I was putting the line inside the needle, every inch or so I would kink it by bending this just down and then shoving it in. And the kinks in succession inside the needle is actually what stops the mono from pulling out of the needle as you're threading it through the hollow core itself.
And the right size needle obviously holds the line in better. When you're selecting the needle, you can buy them by monofilament pound test rating. But ultimately, we're using the needle that can fit the monofilament inside as close as possible. Because the thinner the needle, the easier it's going to go into the hollow core.
As you see, we got it started here, coming in. And what you want to do is just slide the needle down inside of the hollow core, pushing it up on the needle.
Yeah, come around here. I think you got a lot of blowout on that light there. Hold on. Let's get a little better angle.
Yeah, looks good there. So you're just going to slide the needle down inside the hollow core. It's easy if you have the hollow core underneath the needle to stop the needle from poking out of the sides. And you're just, sliding the needle, holding the needle down into the hollow core. And as it bunches up on the needle itself, you just, just push it off the back of the needle. Most guys do, 8-10 feet of this. Really the more the better, but 8-10 feet is pretty much the standard.
Yep, 3 feet is certainly enough to have that whole, finger lock handcuff thing work. So if you don't want to use that much, if it's a super spooky situation and you're afraid of, that you can see the hollow core, 3 feet's enough. And if you make your connection at the end, what's called the serving, this will never fail. So once Dave gets all the way up as far as he wants to go, and as he said, we like 6 or 8 feet.
So right now we're probably about 4 feet already. Now you're just taking your time, just pushing the needle down inside the hollow core. It all will bunch up on the needle, and then you just slide it off gently. So for time's sake today, we're going to just do enough to get across of the jig we got laid up on the table. So we already got about,
Let me see if we can get a better.
close to probably 5 feet there.
Now, if you've ever tried to do this with, different line, you really can't, unless you've tried it with different line, you really can't appreciate how super smooth and super easy it is with this Cortland C16. It really is like silk, and it's very round because there's 16 strands.
So there, we already got about 6 feet there. And you just, take it just by running your fingers over it, get all the kinks out so it lays flat. I'm actually gonna go with this here. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna pull the needle through the side of the hollow core. And you're just gonna,
All right, hold on. Let me get that.
so the needle comes out the side of the hollow core, any side, it does not matter. Then you just pinch the mono. Get my scissors here. Got them in my pocket. And then what you're gonna do,
Just leave a little bit of that bent stuff in there, Dave, right? Because that'll help it grip. And you have enough in there that you're gonna slide that back in. So that's the part of the mono that was inside the needle. Clip it off, and then you just let it slide into
sliding
the
these
core.
coils right onto the, so there the mono is disappeared inside the hollow core. Right there is you can see it. All right.
And then that's it. So then what we would do is on our line winding machine, or if you were doing this with somebody with the rod, you would here, get this in here. So this is our connection here. I'm sorry, this is the last point of the insertion. So you can see the monofilament's inside the hollow core here, but not here. And then you want to just wind it back on the reel, applying pressure outward. And what you're doing now is tightening up any of that weave that is still remained bunched up, right? And we got it to the end. So again, this is it. Once we serve this end here, no knots, and that your connection is made. And we have the benefit of using this very fancy jig that they have here at Tackle Direct. I actually have one myself, but you do not need this item. Earlier today, we were doing it while it was on rods, and we took a regular wood clamp. Hold on, I'm tangled in the line here. A rubber padded wood clamp for clamping pieces of wood together when you glue them, and we pinch it off to a soft piece of pine, and that'll give us that one end to hold. You want this line to be nice and tight when you're serving this line, when you're wrapping this line. So what we're going to do is we have some Cortland 20-pound master braid on this spool, and this is a originally made for doing archery bowstrings.
Serving jig.
Up until 2 days ago, I used a regular fly tying bobbin, but Dave saw me doing this and said, "Hey, I got this thing that'll work great." And what that's cool for is that holds right onto that line. But a regular fly tying bobbin or jig tying bobbin, whatever you do with it, is all you need. All we're doing ultimately is wrapping this braid around the outside of this hollow core so that we're making a smooth connection here that's not going to fail. That's all that this serving is doing, is making this connection here so that this doesn't happen. All right, you can see that on there. But if this happens, if this slides back, that's the only thing that could make that knot fail, okay? If this line slides back here, the knot fails, or the splicing fails. So all we're doing by serving again is finishing off this end so that this finger lock keeps this monofilament inside this hollow core. So anything that anybody does, whether they're using floss or anything else, they're just sealing this end. We like to use glue. It's not the neatest way of doing it, but it is certainly the most effective way of doing it, because now the glue has to fail and the serving has to fail before this would have your splice fail. So that's it. We put a little glue on the monofilament, super glue, and then it dries instantly because of the two different materials kind of bond great. And then that's it. If we did nothing else, if we were in a jam and had to do something, you could put the glue on there and it would work. But again, you want to make sure that you're doing it properly. And the only other thing you need to do is some material needs to be wrapped around this outer core and finished off. We're using a 20-pound braid on the bobbin. You could use waxed floss and do it by hand. I've been on many boats in South America where they don't have the advantage of a lot of these tools, and guys do it by hand with regular waxed rigging floss. It becomes a little bulkier, and I did see it fail once with the rigging floss with no glue. So we glue it. We have had zero, not one ever failure. So we'll take a little more glue here and just go over the outside of this hollow core. Now again, because this is a weave, there's little gaps in there that glue is getting onto this monofilament line. And this is making our connection super, super, super strong.
Yeah, let me get to some of
So you
these.
see if Anthony give a question here while we wait for this to dry a second.
It's just,
I might get a question about the glue.
yeah, I thought I saw that
Importance
pop
of
up.
the glue.
All right, so let's start off in the beginning. On my screen, the picture's not very good. Watch this, very clear. Yeah, with the cameras, it's difficult sometimes. Get a dark piece of something behind the line.
Sure.
Yeah, we could try that. Does the glue have any impact on the world record for line strength, Frank?
Negative.
No. Frank says no.
Negative. I don't know if that's gonna work for you here.
Well, we're on this camera. You want to
Well, let me see.
put it on top of it.
Come over here, Ant.
and see if we could get
Come here.
the light.
See if
I
that
think is
works.
what's bright.
There we go.
All right.
There we go. You can see that end there. Let's see if we shoot this way. Yeah, I guess my shirt is the best thing behind it here.
All right, let me get
Because I got the New York uniform on, the black on black.
all right, there you
But
go.
yeah, so Dave's got a blue shirt on, that'll work. So Dave's gonna slide in here and show you. So again, just to kind of go over, if you guys couldn't see that because of the, you know, not contrasting there. So this is the end of the line. That's where we inserted the mono, hollow core. And so all we're gonna do is marry these two with the glue first, and then we're gonna wrap over this to make a nice smooth connection. Because the only way this fails is if this outer core of the C16 would just slide back. And it would have to slide back through the entire length of the insertion, so 6 feet or 8 feet. I think you'd see that happening. I did have somebody's pre-bought one fail once, and I saw it happening. The guy was reeling in, and the tip of the rod caught the end of the, you know, connection here, and the connection had started to unwind, and it kind of pushed the hollow core off, and ultimately the fish was lost. And that was the last time I ever bought a pre-made leader. We like to do stuff ourselves when we can, and that's why I had to demystify all this stuff, because it all looked very complicated, looked way too much work to do as many times as we need to do it. We do everything from inshore fly fishing to offshore big game, so we have literally dozens of outfits, and we use this whenever we can. We use it for fly line, so you don't have to do loop-to-loop connections from your backing, you know, to your regular fly line, because most fly lines, the backing is usually a woven, a hollow core. Many, many years ago, this was done with fly lines long before the big game situation came into play. So I think if Dave stays right on here, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to see.
So you're gonna start with your serving, right? You're gonna get as close to the end here. This is the mono, and this is the hollow core here. So you're gonna start with half of a uni knot. A little bit later on, we're gonna go and show the whole uni knot and a couple other knots. So you're gonna start with a half of a uni knot. Go through there.
And all that's doing is creating your first windings, but it's going to seal them off with the knot. So we have our first windings are the most important, I feel, because that's cinching down that hollow core, that outer core of the hollow core, to the inner core of the monofilament. The glue has already done that, but now we've done it with the braid.
Scissors.
Hey, Frank,
Yes.
stand in front of it so we can get a good shot. I think the black's working out a little bit better
Scissors.
than the blue.
I don't know what we do with the scissors this time.
Here, they're under the cardboard.
So you can see here, right, we've got our first wrappings. Oop, sorry about that. So this bobbin is unique in the design that it has an adjustable tension. If you used a regular fly tying bobbin, you would wrap around the arm of it to build the tension that way. So once we've got it set up, we just lay the bobbin on there and we just wrap it around. And all we're doing is creating stacked wrappings that will finish off that last bit of that connection. And you can do, you know, as much of this as you like. You can get carried away if you have a little focus problem like I do, and you know, spend a lot of time making it really nice and really long, but an inch or two is plenty. And all you're trying to do, once again, is just make another barrier, another way of cinching down over that hollow core, sealing that inner monofilament so that it can't slide out.
So Frank, how far? Let's say
An
how
inch
far
or
did we
two
go?
is fine. That's fine right
All
there.
right, so let me try to focus right in on.
Yeah.
Get your black shirt in front of it.
I
Let's
think if
see.
you shoot down there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can see
Wait,
here.
Hold on. There we go.
Okay. So, yep. It's so tight. You can barely see it, but that is little windings over the hollow core. And there's a little bit of our end there. So what Dave's going to do now is start running it back and then do a whip finish. All the whip finish is we lay a double strand of monofilament underneath the wrappings, and then we'll pull the end underneath so that they're sealed under the wrappings and you don't have a knot. So all those wrappings would have to fail before that underlayment came out. It's very, very super way of doing it.
Okay, so then once you get to the bottom,
I think that come closer to here. Let's say, so we can get that.
you just get a half hitch on the bottom to lock that bottom down. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna come back, tighten your jig back up. You're gonna get one, I just do one wrap by hand to get it started in the right direction. And you tighten your jig up. And now you're gonna serve back up.
Towards the end, towards where the monofilament is inserted.
So you wanna just find, go right behind your half hitch and just start going back. There we go.
And I'll show you a super kind of broader view of this, a kind of a wider view where the wrapping won't be as neat, but it's just as effective, and you'll maybe have a little bit better view because this close-up stuff is a challenge with seeing it over the internet maybe. But again, once you understand what you're doing, all of this stuff that we're doing on the end here is just to seal off that last little part.
All right, so once you get about 3/4 of the way back up towards where your original uni knot, where you started to wrap down the serve, you serve back 3/4 of the way up, and then we're gonna put our whip finish in, which is just a doubled length of line.
Monofilament, braid, or whatever.
And you're just laying it over. You're just laying it over the over everything with the loop up past the head of the hollow core there, and you're just going to like I said, I do it 1 or 2 wraps by hand just to get it going before I get the jig back up.
So that whip finish thing is kind of like the old nail knot thing. You're wrapping over a tube or a nail or whatever, and then you're pulling the piece of the tag end underneath it, and that's what's a whip finish. Guys who wrap rods know that well because that's how they do the wrapping on there. You don't have to do a knot, and you have a sealed off connection there.
So then you're just going over that over that double line with the jig again, and you're just going to keep going. Just the tail ends, just make sure they're out of the way. And you're going to go over your uni knot. So right now I'm just coming up past my uni knot. I have about a 1/16 of an inch until the end of my hollow core meets the monofilament. So I just now came over with the serving where the hollow core meets the monofilament, the head of that. So I'm going to do 2, 3, about 4 or 5 servings past that. And then I'm just going to lower my jig down. I'm going to snip that. And you're just going to put that right through the loop of that double line. that you did before. So there's the double line. Pass the monofilament through, pass the serving through that. You're going to grab the two tail ends and pull them. Hold both of them, and you're going to pull that, and that actually sucks that tag end of the serving back 1/4 way down your splice. So that tag end is about 1/4 of the way into your serving there, so it can't pull out of the head of that. And as you're pulling that, that's tightening this onto the head of the hollow core. So what Frank said before, that can't slide.
All right, Frank, why don't you get in front of this so we can get a really good shot with the black shirt. And then
And you snip that close, a razor blade or a good pair of snips are good. And you can see Frank's gonna get here because my blue shirt is not
Okay.
quite doing it.
let's see if we could.
Yep. So, yeah, the problem is, let me
Yeah,
see if I
let's
can
go
hold it on
Maybe
there.
hold it. Give it a second. It'll focus in.
Yeah, it's just that it's, you know, if you don't have enough light, these cameras don't work, and then too much, and we get blown out
Right there.
here.
That shows it. So I'll point you. You can describe.
Yeah. So you'll see there.
This here is the hollow core with the leader stuffed inside of it.
You want to try to go with the camera?
Yeah. Let's switch this other camera. Hold on one second. This technology is working against us a little bit. How's it look on your camera, John?
It looks all right.
All right, let's slide this stuff out of the way here. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty good.
Yeah, you can see it here.
So this is our 80-pound monofilament here.
No glasses jokes, everybody.
This is our hollow core with the monofilament threaded inside of it. This is where we tied the original uni knot and served down. Did a half hitch here. Started serving back up, back up, back up. Stopped here. Started our whip finish. The loop was out here. Served all the way back up. This is the end of the hollow core here. I did 5 wraps onto the mono. Put it through the end. Put the tag end of the serving through the loop in the whip finish. Pulled the tag ends. And right here is where the tag end came out of the whip finish. So that tag end from the whip finish is all the way down here. You never have to worry about that pulling out.
Right. So all these strands would have to fail before that would come out. And then how we're going to finish it off is just put a little glue over it again. And, you know, this is super glue. There's some really neat stuff called soft bait glue. I don't know if John has that here or not.
Mine.
They make that for attaching soft baits to jigs. They advertise that it does not harm mono at all. Other than making the mono a little more brittle than it is, there's really no downside that I know of. I don't believe it weakens it. Believe me, we've done testing after testing. When we're going for these world records, we don't want our knots to fail. The line never breaks there for some reason. It breaks, you know, a foot up from there or whatever. I think that all this stuff that you're doing is creating some sort of cushion, and it's, you know, absorbing the shock, which is ultimately what, you know, breaks the line. So once we have this glue on there, that's it. This thing is done. It's never going to fail. Everything is sealed under a coating of glue. If you had to do this outside, on the beach, on a stream, on a boat, there's this really cool stuff called UV knot sense. You guys have that? It's a UV activated glue. So it's a little black tube. There's maybe some different stuff out there. But it's a pretty cool product. Maybe John gets a request for it. He can bring it in, made by Loon. This is activated by sunlight or UV, ultraviolet rays. So you can work with it, keep it shaded. As soon as you expose it to the light, whether it's daylight or UV light, it'll harden then. But all of that is coated under that glue. And that's it. Obviously, it takes a lot longer when we're explaining step by step by step. but we've got it down to 8 or
Yeah.
10 minutes
Yeah, not
per,
It's worth it. It's
per line. So you have this mono to braid connection, and this can be used for leaders, for top shots on the big game reels. It doesn't matter. If you were using mono as your main line, and you always usually put a mono leader at some point or something attaching. We don't ever attach lures straight to braid. So we were putting a leader on there. So we're going to show you some knot connections that are pretty easy, but this is super slim. You can run through the guides hundreds and hundreds of times without any problem. It'll cast right through. So there's the slimmest knot that you can make is still not that slim. So once you get it down, it's very easy, fairly quick. And again, you're not doing this 5 times a day. You're not doing it, 5 times in a week.
all right.
So there we are. We actually have somebody bringing us a cable to make this internet a little faster, and that might help with some of this visuals for us here. Anthony, you want to see if we have any questions here that we can address?
Yeah, sure. If anybody have any questions of what we've covered so far, please click on that chat button, and hopefully we can answer it. Any comments, other than I know the picture wasn't always great, but hopefully our explanations, were able to, combat that. But does anybody have any questions about what we've covered so far?
All right.
Oh, wait. We got this whole question and answer section right here. All right, here we go. John Murphy, is it harder to do with smaller line, like 40 and 30-pound braid?
Frank, as far as the smallest spliceable that Cortland makes right now is 80. If you had, so some of the fly line backing that Cortland makes is down to 30, I believe, and that's hollow core. So the only challenge with that, John, is that there's a limit to the size of the monofilament that you could put inside of it. I don't know that you'd get anything bigger than 40 inside of 40. But if you have the right size needle, it's not any harder. Everything is downsized. The needle is downsized because it has to fit inside of a smaller diameter backing or C16 or whatever you're trying to splice. The adjustable tension bobbin is, John, do you have any adjustable tension bobbins? No, you may be able to get them in for you. If you have a problem with that, you could email us directly. Just go to finchaserstv.com and hit contact us, or send me an email to finfly, FINFLY at AOL. Also Frank at finchaserstv. So
all right, what else we got? How well does the braid backing rubber on pen reels function? Do you still need to lay down a bed of mono or tape?
I will tell you that I always use mono because from what I've seen, and I'm not familiar with the pen reels as much as the Daiwa, there's only a band of that stuff in there, and that it may squeeze that, that rubber in, So I like to put, even if it's 5 yards, as long as it fills the entire spool, whatever the width is of the spool that you have, I like to put a little mono on there. You're not really, even if it was 10-pound test, just so you have that cushion in there.
All right, we got some people in here.
So we have the higher speed connection here. Let's switch over to that for 1 second, folks, and see if that's going to make our resolution any clearer. But you can see my glue is dried now, and there's hopefully you got a good picture of this here, and that's all you need. So we will take this out of this vise now, and put Put it right up against here. Maybe that'll work a little better.
Yeah, plug this in.
Yeah, let's get that in here. Hold on a second, folks. We'll get this technology going here.
Going on here.
There we go. Okay, so
We have to switch over.
yeah, we'll just switch over to our wired connection here. We got our technology man, John Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm scared we're gonna lose it.
If we lose you guys, we'll be right back in just a second here.
What do you need to do?
Didn't look like it dropped, did it?
Nope.
Oh, we're still going.
I think we're all right.
Okay. Oh, so maybe this is going to work here. It's a little faster connection. It certainly looks better on our side. And let's see if we get down here. Out of this light a little bit. There you go. We're going to use a contrasting. There you go, Ant. I think that was it. Yeah, a little too much light there. So there you go. There's our whole, this side here, just the hollow core. There's our wrappings, and there's the mono on the end. So that's a better picture there. Perfect, right there. So you can see how slim that is. So we're gonna do another one. We'll use this blue 50-pound, so it'll be a little more contrasting. We'll do it real fast, so it's not one that we fish with. We'll just do it by hand real quick. But in the meantime, Dave's gonna show you some other ways of connecting mono to braid. Again, why are you using braid? You know, people don't know why I don't know, I don't like the way braid feels or whatever. Line capacity, sensitivity. Remember, braid has a lot less abrasion resistance than mono, but it has its place and it's very effective in those places. The challenge is to make those connections. The mono to your braid, right? So you got to make those connections. Dave's going to show you 3 knots that are super, super easy.
So a little earlier I showed you the uni to uni knot for splicing in the hollow core. This is 30-pound Cortland braid. This is 40-pound leading material. So what you're going to do?
There you go.
All right. What you're going to do? You're going to take them, lay them over each other. You're going to take your braid, you're going to cross it over your mono. So you're just going to take it, lay it over, cross it over. So there's a loop. Take the tag end, put it through a loop once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. You're going to just hold the tag end, and you're just going to pull the tag end in the mono you crossed over so it binds down on top of itself. Then you're going to do the same thing with the mono. You're going to come over here. You're going to take the mono. You're holding it in your hand since you originally laid it on top of each other. You're going to cross it over just like you did with the braid. You cross it over the top, through the hole once, twice, 3, 4. You don't really want to do more than 5 times with the monofilament because it will bind on itself and it will be very, very hard to cinch down. So 4 or 5 times. I like to do 5 times. I just hold that in my teeth when I pull that. And you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to cinch that down just like you did with the braid. Feel any knot as you moisten it, it helps it cinch up. And then I'll try and do it slow here. You're going to see them two coming together, coming together, coming together, coming together. Boom. So they just bound into each other. So you're going to tighten it up, pull on it, and then you trim the tag ends, and then I'm going to get a nice close-up picture for you. So you're going to trim the...
And that's a double uni or uni to uni. That is my favorite knot for making these connections. I like it because it has 2 even sides rather than a knot that has one bulky side, if you will.
So that is the finished product. That is 5 wraps of the mono, and 8 wraps of the braid. And that is 30-pound Cortland braid here, and this is 40-pound leader material here. And that's the connection there. It's slim. It goes, goes through the guides nice. It doesn't hang up in the reel. You can trim both tag ends close as you want. When you're casting, it won't hang up on your thumb like some other splices in the when it's on your free spool. If you fish a longer leader, you cast, it'll dig into your thumb. These, there's no adverse effects by cutting the tag ends close as you can, and it won't tear up the guides coming out either.
Right, because it's wrapped so many times over itself, it's kind of secured, 4 or 5 times, however many wraps you have, rather than one final wrap, because it's wrapped over itself. So you have 2 little ends, and it's got a bump going in, a bump going out, rather than, like Dave said, that one sharp end coming off of one side of it. And if you wanted to, you put a little coating of glue over that, and you're making not only a smoother finish, but you're protecting the knot with the glue. So we like to do that a lot. When we're very concerned about this knot, tournament fishing, world record fishing, we're going to coat them all with glue, because we're casting over and over and over again, and that knot going in and out, eventually it's going to degrade that mono, and the knot can fail. But we're talking thousands of casts probably. But again, you put a little glue over it, and it makes a hard finish over it. You're encapsulating it in a little kind of protective little bubble, if you will. So uni to uni, you can do it in the dark. It's easy to feel, easy to do, very uncomplicated knot. If you do it, you can use that one single uni over a hook as a snell. It's just, I love that knot. It's very, very easy and very universal.
So, and also that, the first one I did on the braid, that's how you started your serving when you spliced in the hollow core. The same thing, you would lay it over, put it through a loop 4 or 5 times, cinch it down, and then serve down. In case you missed that part, you serve down when you're splicing your hollow core. So that's the uni to uni. The next knot we're going to do is the Albright knot. So the Albright knot, you come with your leader. This is off another rod. You got a temple fork here with a diode BG on it. This is your 40-pound leader, and this is your 30-pound Cortland braid. So what this would do, you would make a loop in the end of your leader, take your braid, you put it through the loop. I'm just going to ask Frank to hold this. It's easier as if it were coming off a rod tip. Just hold your arm over here. Or actually just put it in here. That'd be perfect. Just put it in a little vise so you guys can see it. All right, so you got your double loop from the end of your mono. It's nothing crazy. You just double the line. Take the braid, put it through the loop. Just tilt the camera, Frank, over to here a little bit.
Can you see that, John?
Yeah.
All right, so you got your double line. You threaded your braid through it, just through it. Pinch your braid down at the bottom of the double line, and then wrap it over top of everything, pinching it with your finger underneath it. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And each wrap, you're just climbing up in front of each wrap up towards the head of the knot.
Right, towards that loop.
If you cross over 1 or 2, just back it off and start it again. You want them going, so you can do this very quick. So we got 7. And you want to do between 15 and 20. With lighter braid, you can go towards 20. With heavier braid, I would go down towards 15. So that's 20 wraps there. And then all you do is you just take your braid. Now this is the most important thing. And you want to go in the loop from the top. So both of your lines are coming through the loop the same way. This is the only way this knot can fail, the biggest thing. So after you do your wraps, heading up towards the tip of the loop, stick it in from your braid in through the loop and out the bottom. So both lines are coming out of the loop the same way. You can see it pretty good.
So start from the bottom, wrap, and then go in through the top, so that it's really just a a regular handshake with a lot of wraps.
So that's it there. You can see both of those tag ends are coming through loop in the same direction. And you just pull on both tag ends. And you can pull on your main line there. You can pull on your tag end and tighten it up. And that's it. And I'm going to trim it for you and show you.
You know, a lot of this stuff, you watch these knots and, you know, maybe it's hard to grasp what's really happening. Just try it. You know, the muscle memory is the thing that's going to make you be able to do these knots, okay? That's by doing it. Having your hands on there, whether you want to watch this video over or there's little apps for your phone that have this stuff. You know, it's tough looking in a book at a knot and then trying to remember and do it later. Just get it out there and do it.
So this is the Braid. And that's, you know, I did 15 to 20 turns. I did 20 turns because this is lighter braid. And you could see on this one, you just leave the tag end of the braid. You leave a very, very small tag end. Don't cut it flush to that with your knife or your scissors. You want to leave a tiny, tiny, tiny tag end of the braid there.
And again, you can put that glue over it.
Yes.
Or,
And
you know,
say
clear nail polish, whatever.
That's a very streamlined knot. That is, you know, very streamlined, very seamless. It casts great. It's small going through the water. If it doesn't catch seaweed, it's, you know, it's a very good knot for joining these double lines if you want something a little more castable.
Now, the simplest streamlined knot, I think, is the reverse Albright.
Mm-hmm.
It's faster, it's as streamlined, and that'll be the third knot between the double uni, Albright, and reverse Albright. I don't know that there's another knot you need to join these lines of, you know, dissimilar, you know, materials. So,
Is there a modified Albright as well? We're getting asked.
I don't know.
A modified Albright. Modified Albright, I believe, is where you come in through the head, you wrap down. Instead of wrapping up like I did, you wrap down 10 wraps, and then you wrap back over that another 10 and put it through. I've tied that, and I've done many knot tests. I have an archery scale that I use, and as I'm pulling it and the knot breaks, it stops at the reading, and there's no benefit over one than the other that I found, other than they improved or modified Albright. There's more room for error. As you come down from your bottom wraps going back up, there's more room for error. It takes a little longer to tie, and you know, we use this knot for everything. This is my personal favorite. Frank likes the uni. I like that one also. This is my personal favorite. I use it for bottom fishing, you know, black fishing, whatever we're doing, where there's a lot of shock, a lot of impact.
I tell you, any of these three knots that we're showing you, they're relatively quick, and you know, they might not be 100% in every test, but I can tell you that in real life, the line doesn't break at the knot if you do these good. Something else will happen to your line along the way. You know, whether it's abrasion from, you know, something that you're fishing near, or, you know, the guide, or, you know, you're casting at the same spot every time or something. When we test them, and we test every one, they don't break at the knots, not at these knots, because you're seeing it come together. The uni to uni, you're watching those two, you know, barrels of line slide together and cinch up. And for me, that's how you know that knot's completed, and you visually inspect it, and it's quick. You can do it in the dark too. So that's my favorite. Dave likes this one, but this reverse Albright is probably for the best value for slimness and ease of tying, if you can make that kind of equation.
So the reverse Albright, I like to start with a double line. You don't have to, you can do it with a single line, but I like to have it with a double line. It helps if you want to leader your fish a little more. It just helps to have a double line. A lot of times when you don't want to tie the FG knot, if you're tuna fishing, you don't want to tie an advanced knot. You tie this, you got a quick double line to your reverse Albright, and it's all the benefits of the standard Albright, but having the double line here.
Right.
And I'm going to show you that now.
So double line on braid is important because the monofilament, so 30-pound monofilament is, 30-pound braid rather is equivalent to like 6-pound monofilament. So there's a lot of benefits to that. A disadvantage to that is that the abrasion resistance is not there. So to use a simple way to kind of quantify what I'm talking about, if you had a 1-inch line and you made a 1/4 inch nick in that line, it would be 25% penetration into that line. So if you think of 30-pound monofilament for an expanded view is 1 inch thick, and 30-pound braid is, 1/4 of an inch thick. So a 1/4 inch nick in that would go right through that line, whereas the braid, it would only be a 25% penetration. So a 1/16 of a nick on regular 30-pound mono may not, make that line break, but a 1/16 of an inch thick nick on 30-pound braid will be probably halfway through the line. So doubling the line creates twice the abrasion resistance. Does that make sense? That's why we double braid at the end of our connections to the mono. So unless we're using very heavy pound braid or hollow core, we're doubling the last part of our braid all the time. It rubs up against the boat, a rock, a piling, whatever. A spider hitch is the fastest.
I want to show you with the mono real quick.
Way to do a double line, and it's almost a 100% knot.
So I'm going to show you the
cheap bimini, if you will.
I'm going to show you the spider hitch with the high vis 40-pound mono here, just for it's a little easier to see than the braid. So this is my favorite to make a double one. You're gonna double it, get your distance however big. I'm used to making big ones because I was rigging shark tackle for the last week here. So you make a smaller one that you would cast or fish with. You take your double line, you cross it, you make a loop. You take this, you wrap it around, you pinch that loop with your thumb and your other finger. You wrap this around your finger once, 2, 3, 4 or 5 times. And then you take the tag and your original loop, you pass it through that loop and grab it. And then they're going to slide off of your finger. They're going to slide off of your fingers like so. So there is, and just pull it down slowly. Wetting it helps. You're going to watch it come together. And that is your spider hitch. I'll do it one more time.
So that's a cheap, quick bimini. It creates double line, and it creates a little shock absorber with all of that line being round
You get your double line, you cross it over itself. You start up high on your fingers, and you go down the points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do it 4 or 5 times. With lighter line and braid, you could probably just do it 5 times. With heavier mono, you can get away with 4 times. I did it 5 times here. You're wrapping down your fingers to the point. So first wrap, second wrap, third, fourth, fifth wrap. You're pinching your original double loop, taking that through there, and it just slides off your fingers. There's the fifth, the fourth, third, second, and there's the first. And you just pull both hands together at the same time. You wet it, and then you just cinch it down. And the benefit of this, it does not, as it's cinching down, it does not burn or kink any of the double line.
Which you do get sometimes with a bimini twist, when you're putting a lot of pressure on it to roll the line back on. So, again, people might look at a bimini twist and go, oh, it's too much of a hassle, I'm not going to make a double line. There's a lot of benefits. Do the spider hitch, especially if you have thin braid to a thicker monofilament, because, those, not only is it dissimilar material, but the disparity between the very thin braid and thicker mono, you have the advantage of using a double line to kind of thicken up the braid side, if you will, of the knot.
So here I did, as Frank was speaking, I did my spider hitch. I did my spider hitch in the braid. It comes down so small you can barely see it. I'm gonna cut off the tag end on the dead side of that. Okay. So now here you have your double line in the braid, your spider hitch doubling your braid. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask Anthony to hold that there. All right. Here. So we got for our double line, there's a loop on the end of our double line. 40-pound leader. This could be 20, 30, 15-pound braid if you're fishing light, double line here, whatever you want. Actually, I'm gonna have Frank hold this on this side.
Okay.
All right. So you take your.
I'm a hand model.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly not. All right. So you got your single line here, your double line. You're gonna lay that on top of your single line, and you're gonna cross it over one. You're crossing the double line just over. You're just wrapping it around your leader. And you want to do it 8 to 10 times. All these knots, more wraps with the braid, the lighter the braid is because it's thinner and it tends to slip. All right. So we did this 10 times. You just wrap that double line over your single leader line. There's a loop from your double line. You're going to take the tag end of your leader and just pass it through. It doesn't matter which way you do it. You just pass it through. And then you just hold both of those lines. You hold both of your leader lines and you just slowly pull. Now the key with this is your doubled line is here. It's best when you tighten the line down to hold on the single line side of your double line, so both of these double line legs get tightened equally. So I'm holding above that, and I'm pulling and I'm pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling. You see the knot coming together. Now I can grab on the double line because that's together.
So you understand that you want both legs of that doubled line to end up even on each side of the knot, so it doesn't end up kinked.
So I'm sure you saw that cinching down on itself, and then you could cut the tag end. So here you have your spider hitch. This is your double line. It's about 12, 14 inches of double line. You could, depending on how big you do your spider hitch, dictates that. You can do it, if you're shark fishing, you could do it 15 foot long. If you want to have something nice going through the guides, you could do it 10 inches long. And then there is your reverse Albright connection. And that's the mono wrapped over the braid. And as you can see, that's nice coming in and coming out of the guides because it's very slim at the head. It is very slim. And I'm going to hold that here next to your regular Albright, which is underneath of it. That's your reverse Albright on top. The double line is in this hand.
So this is a single strand with a regular Albright, doubled mono, double braid with a reverse Albright.
And this is the leader.
And we will jig for big bluefin tunas and have no problem to have that, that knot going through the guides. We're not worried about losing a fish. You do it the right way, it's going to hold. Like I said, you got more chance of something else happening than that knot failing if you do it the right way. So you don't have to overcomplicate 3 knots. You can do very simple, low-tech splicing by using the glue and just using some braid instead of using, waxed floss like people do a lot. It's super thin, super easy, and this is not just stuff that we, like to do because it's cool to do it. We need to do this so that we can fish the way we have to fish and make sure that we have the best advantage over these fish. When we're fishing high stakes tournaments, you're fishing for world records, every fish could be that one fish that makes a difference, and that's why you can't take any chances. So we hope that you guys liked all this. If you have any questions, you can type them in now.
Frank, we got a question here. I have a buddy who needs to see this.
I already answered that one. Yeah, we're going to be recording this at the end, and you'll be able to find it on navionics.com. Also, Tackle Direct will post it on their Facebook page, Cortland, as well as we're going to convert it, make it a YouTube video for future educational purposes. Let's see, another questions here. On the 80-pound transition to say 30-pound braid, could you have the 30-pound tag end coming out of the hollow core, and instead of trimming and pulling it inside, could you leave the tag end long and use it to serve back onto the outside of the hollow core and finish it with a whip and glue?
No, because it'll pull the hollow core apart from the inside out. So that's why you have to do it this way. I've fooled with it so many different ways to kind of do it quicker or easier, but this is the best way to do it.
All right, did we answer, have you ever served over a uni to uni knot in an attempt to smooth out the knot?
No. If I was going to smooth it out, like I said, we use the glue, and that'll give you a hard protective finish. Again, if you do, you know, a whip finish or serving over knots of, you know, you have a rough knot underneath, the serving is going to have gaps in it. Just put some sort of, you know, nail polish, clear nail polish or glue over it, and that should be fine. Again, the whole idea of this is not to overcomplicate it. You can buy super glue in any store, gas station, anywhere. You can grab it. If you forgot it at home, take it with you wherever you're fishing, and you know you can have that extra security. You know, even if you made a knot in a rush and you thought it was going to slip, when using that super glue, it just cinches everything together, and the glue would have to fail and the knot would have to fail. So again, this stuff, I'm sure you've seen prettier splicings, but it's super streamlined, super easy, and again, we've never had a failure. So I could do, if there's any challenge with the visibility of this, somebody wants to type in, and I can do it using you know, a different color braid to go over it so you see it. But I think it's pretty straightforward that all you're doing is, you know, once you insert the mono into the hollow core, you need to just cover this end up, and we don't just focus on that little bit of that end. We go all the way up and down. We're securing all of this mono under this C16 hollow core by serving it and gluing it. So you have an inch of serving and glue that has to break before that would fail. And you'll end up changing that top shot or that leader, if you're using it to make a leader, long before that stuff would ever, you know, start to fail.
All right, so I'd like to
just want to say thank you all. Don't forget, next 2 Saturdays, July 1st, Fin Chasers on Destination America, and 6 a.m. If you guys can't get up early, set your DVR. We appreciate you all watching. We have a lot of giveaways here at Tackle Direct. So we're going to do anyone that comes into Tackle Direct or orders online, all you need to do is mention this webinar, either when you come in or online. And while supplies last, you're going to get, based on availability, a 150-yard spool of Cortland Master Braid, 20, 30, or 50, with any order over $50. So you don't have to do it online. If you come in, mention this webinar. We've got probably 12 or 15 spools of this stuff, and John is going to randomly select some people from the Facebook Live of Tackle Direct. So if you want to switch over after this is over, John's going to randomly select some people, and we're going to give away 3 spools of 30-pound Cortland Master Braid. Super strong, the best stuff around as far as I'm concerned, and no purchase necessary. John Vaughn's is going to pick 3 names. Thanks you all for watching. Send us your questions. Hopefully we'll be back here at Tackle Direct soon to bring you some more webinars. If you want to see something, send in a note. Captain Anthony will set it up, and we'll be back.
All right, I'd like to thank again Navionics for hosting this, as well as Cortland Line and Tackle Direct. So if you have any questions or comments, please fill out the survey at the end. Again, we're going to try to improve a little the video a little bit. I think once we went hard line, the visibility got a lot better. But in the future, we're going to do a lot more webinars, hopefully some based right here out of Tackle Direct. All right, have a great night, guys, and tight lines.